Hello again everyone, welcome back. We're now on lecture 17 of CIMA P3 Performance Strategy. This one was on currency risk. So, exchange rates then. What's the terminology we need to be aware of? Well, first of all, we need to know that the spot rate is the current foreign exchange rate. That's just the rate there is currently, okay? The base currency, well, that's the currency on the right hand side here. You've got the dollars to the pound. The pound is the base currency, okay? The one quoted as 1, the one on the right, the base currency. The counter currency fluctuates against the base. In our example, the dollar is the counter currency. It's 1.25 to £1, okay? So that is the base currency to the counter currency, and the counter fluctuates against the base. The spread then, the spread is where the banks make their money. Okay, they make their money on the spread. For example, you'll be quoted a rate 1.45 to 1.55. Okay, that's the dollar pound rate. So $1.45 to $1.55. The bank sells low. See those capital L's? That's how you remember it. Okay, the bank sells low. Remember, all the L's low. So the bank sells to you low. If you go into the bank and try to buy dollars off them, they will sell you dollars at 1.45, i.e. they will only give you $1.45 for your pound. Whereas if you went in and tried to give them dollars, they would only give you a rate of 1.55. Okay, they would buy them high and sell them low, so remember that. We did an example of that in the notes, and now we moved on to forecasting our exchange rates. Two ways to do this: purchasing power parity theory, or the law of one price. So this forecasts long-term exchange rate changes, and our calculation is that the future rate is the current rate times 1 plus the inflation rate in the counter currency over 1 plus the inflation rate in the base currency. Okay, so this forecasts inflation, or forecasts our foreign exchange rates in the future, and we did an example of that in the notes. The theory behind it is that items or goods in one country should ultimately be the same price. Okay, so therefore, if the inflation rates are different, the foreign exchange rate will fluctuate to alleviate that difference. Likewise, interest rate parity theory, it forecasts future rates in the long term, and our calculation is that the future rate equals the current rate times 1 plus the interest rate in the counter currency over 1 plus the interest rate in the base currency. Okay, and we did an example of that as well. So, management of currency risk. Well, let's start off with the internal methods. Well, what we could do is we could invoice in the home currency, i.e. if we're a UK supplier in the Eurozone, we could just invoice them in pounds. However, your suppliers or your customers may not be too happy about that. Leading and lagging, you could just pay early or pay late effectively, but again, you're not really alleviating the foreign exchange risk. Offsetting, well, matching, what you could do is you could match your assets and liabilities in foreign countries, or netting, you can basically have a foreign bank account and net off your transactions, hopefully against one another. Lastly, you could engage in a counter trade. External methods, forward contracts are the first one that I want to look at. Okay, so we buy or sell the goods at an agreed rate in the future. These forward contracts are quoted at a premium, in which case you would subtract this from the spot rate, or at a discount, and you would add that to the spot rate. And we did a little example of that. So, the pros and cons of using a forward contract. Well, the pros are that it's simple. You know, you fix that forward contract now, so you know what the rate you're going to get in the future is. It has low transaction costs in comparison to some of the other methods that we're going to look at. You fix the rate, as we said, and it can be tailored and is flexible. So you go to the bank, say how much you need, they'll arrange it for you and it's tailored to your needs. On the other hand, it's a contractual commitment. You must undertake that forward contract at the time of the execution. Whether you're paid or not, or whether you have to pay, you still have to undertake the contract. So say you were waiting on a receipt from a customer, and something happens, that customer doesn't pay you, you still have to undertake the forward contract, so it can leave you very badly off in those situations. The other thing is, you can't take advantage of any upside risk. Okay, you've hedged your downside risk, but you can't take advantage of positive moves in the exchange rate. Another way to manage is the money market. Why would we do this? Well, the money is transferred now. We eliminate the foreign exchange risk as there's no more movement in the currency. So how do we do this? Well, say we have to make a payment in a foreign currency. So now, what would we do now? We would borrow the domestic currency at home and pay the interest on it. Okay, so we've borrowed the amount at home that we need to pay across. We transfer it now out to the foreign country. We place it on deposit in the foreign country where it earns interest. And then in the future, when the payment becomes due, we make the payment. So remember that the deposit earns interest in the foreign country, and the deposit plus the interest will be the payment amount. So when you're transferring the money out to the foreign currency, you'll remember that you're going to earn interest on it. So you don't transfer the full amount, you get it to the present value of it plus the interest. Okay, so that's the amount that you send out. We did an example of that as well. A receipt then, what do we do now? Well, we borrow the foreign currency and pay the interest on it. We convert now at the spot rate. Remember, that's how we eliminate our foreign exchange risk, because we're converting now. And we place that deposit on at home in our home bank and earn interest on it. So that's what we do now. We borrow the foreign currency abroad and pay the interest on it. We convert it at the spot rate and bring it home and place it on deposit where it will earn interest. In the future then, we will pay off the foreign loan with the receipt that we get from the customer. Remember, the interest is payable on the foreign loan, so we will receive interest on our home deposit and net the two out against each other. And we did an example of that one as well. So the pros and cons of using a money market hedge. Well, the pros are that first of all, you have eliminated your currency risk because you make the transfer now and use the current prevailing transaction rate. There's low transaction costs and it's pretty flexible. On the other hand, it can get complex, as you have seen, and there may be borrowing difficulties, i.e. if you have to borrow the money abroad, you may have trouble actually doing that. So that was our first slide on currency risk.